Shweta and Aditya, first of all, a huge congratulations to you as Not Today has premiered at the UK Asian Film Festival, which is celebrating its 23rd edition. So, a huge congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Anand.
so much.
Fantastic. Now, I think I just want to begin by saying, Not Today is quite a hard and poignant but thought-provoking watch. So, what prompted your decision to make the film? How did it all happen?
We, like most people, I guess, had lost people to suicide, and I think we really wanted to tell a story of suicide prevention. But at that point, it was a very personal thing to make a film like that. We shot it in February last year, and March onwards, the world just started to change, and we both feel that the importance of the film has become even more heightened in the last 1 year. I mean, it suddenly seems like it's a mission for us to see to that this film reaches a lot of people because it's a very, very important film right now. Because mental health is just it's so much anxiety in being at home. People are not used to this change, sudden change of pace, that artificial buzz that we're all chasing in life outside, especially in the film industry, is just not available to us anymore. So you have to make do with sitting at home and just seeing life very, very differently from the way we did before. And so I find that it's a much, much more relevant film now than it was when we even decided to make it.
Hmm. And I think also lockdown and the pandemic has been incredibly tough for many of us, and I believe it's also triggered a lot of mental health issues in many people, including creative figures in our industry and fellow colleagues of ours as well. Um, with reference to Not Today, and I know you kind of touched on this, Aditya, but I think Shweta, I would like to get your opinion too on this. How much of a need of the hour is it to kind of deal with through Not Today to deal with such issues that the film addresses? How much of a need of the hour is it?
I think it's very important, and actually, it has been important always, but it's slowly coming to focus in the last few years. And I think all the more now with the pandemic and with the years to follow, it will be all the more important to realize that talking about mental health is should be taken as in the similar manner as you talk about any other health issues. So if you have an issue with blood pressure or you have fever or you have any kind of symptom, you don't hesitate before going to a doctor or calling your family doctor. So why is it not like that for mental health? So it's important that it's recognized as something which exists and it's not pushed below the carpet, and then deal with it with professional help, and not like it's been done till now that you talk to your friend or you talk to your parents or your siblings and it's all fine. Like, why can't you talk to someone, your spouse or whoever? It's like how you would go for any other thing, you would seek professional help. That's what you do for this. So I think that's why it's very relevant now.
Right. And I think, Aditya, I wanted to bring you in here because I think making a film on suicide prevention and mental health awareness as well, it's not easy at all. Like it's a very difficult subject as well. And I think it's a very sensitive subject too. And it obviously must have been quite overwhelming as well to explore that. But how did you as a filmmaker, and even you, Shweta, as the producer as well, how did you both kind of ensure that the story is told in a humanized and responsible manner?
Uh, I don't think one consciously does any of that. Either if you are a person who is generally sensitive about it, then it will show in the film. I don't think one really has any conscious checks and balances. It's just that if you are a responsible person with a certain topic, then you will talk about it responsibly. If you're not, then you probably won't. So that's about it. We did research so that we don't talk from our hat about suicide prevention. First, we researched. We went and spoke to a couple of the leading suicide prevention centers in Mumbai.
Hmm.
But the only thing was that we also realized that there are many schools of suicide prevention, which also is explored in the film as we've seen.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
not Some people believe that you do make it personal to a certain extent. Some people believe that you don't make the conversation personal at all and you keep it very, very objective. So that we saw and we realized that okay, that can really play into the narrative of the film. Uh, so yeah, to keep it authentic was very important, but also to realize that just like with multiple personality disorder, or dissociative identity disorder is what is called now. There is no exact science to anything. People are just
Mm,
figuring it out because let's say from a chemical imbalance in a person's mind, which is hereditary, which their parents or grandparents or uncles and aunts might have suffered from, and it's also kind of passed on in the genes to someone, to having an incident that has really affected their life, like in North Today in some sense. People could be in that space for very different reasons. So people are still trying to, like, suicide prevention itself is a very evolving. I can't even call it a science. It's just a process that people are trying to understand. How do you get people to snap out of that moment at least?
mm.
That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's very true as well. Shweta as well. I think as a producer as well. I guess I mean, because obviously the creative journey is always, I believe, like the director is the sort of guiding force when it comes to the creative process. But as a producer, where do you fit in this whole process as well in terms of, I guess, looking at the whole sensitivity, the way the story is told? Where do you fit in all of that?
I think with us, it's always been because this is our fourth film now, and so Aditya is the writer director. So the creative part is completely his, and I don't normally interfere at all because it's his vision, it's his story, it's his storytelling, how he wants to say it. The subject also he chooses. But I think where I fit in is to start with, I fit in as an audience or like a person who's been receiving the content.
She's the first reader of the screenplay always. So
Hmm.
in that she always reacts to it, and because she has a very high EQ, so I'm always like waiting to see like how she feels about it. Uh, I'm going to just add one small thing here. So we have our own rooms of course in the house also. So when she reads the script, she goes into her own room, and for this script, I think was it this one? I don't know. I think it was this one. That she was reading it, and I was just looking in from
Yeah.
the keyhole
Oh wow.
to see how. Yeah, so I just realized that she was thoroughly engaged for that entire 1 hour. It took her only about an hour and a half, I think, to read the entire screenplay. But a couple of times I passed by and I looked into the keyhole, and I saw that she's just not moving a muscle, but she's completely lost. So small thing, but I think very.
Yeah.
As I said, also we both had our own past with losing people to suicide.
Hmm.
Probably wouldn't get into talking about it because I don't know if those families are actually talking about it publicly. Sometimes
Hmm.
people don't talk about
Yeah.
it.
But it is
But yeah,
very difficult. It is very difficult to talk about, and I think this is the thing, I feel like a lot of I feel like it's not touched upon as much in Indian films and Indian cinema in a sensitive way. Like, of course, people mention it and it's kind of addressed, but not to the extent that Not Today does it, which is obviously very dedicated in doing so. In fact, because of that, I also think that there are very few Indian films which kind of explore mental health from the perspective of men as well. As we saw in Harsh Chaya's character, very interesting the way he kind of described his situations as well. And it was quite heartbreaking too. But why do you think this is the case? Why do you think there is a lack of representation of men's mental health in Indian cinema? And how do you think Not Today can actually act as a catalyst towards more progressive representations and more better representations in Indian cinema?
Thanks for saying it like that. It makes me feel quite good about the film. Uh, One is that, as a bit of an aside, but also joined to what you were saying, in almost every country in the world, men commit suicide more than women, almost as much as 70-30. It's about 65-35 or 70-30 or 75-25 in some countries. Also, interestingly, so of course that is understandable because we know that men don't express their emotions enough or kind of put out their what society has got them to see as weakness. They don't kind of cry enough. They don't put out emotions. They don't allow themselves to remain vulnerable and weak in front of other people. But also, interestingly, in suicide prevention centers worldwide, there's this commonality. It's not a necessary thing, but more often than not, men prefer to talk to women and not to other men because they feel that other men will judge them. So it's also about conditioning, about what it is to be a man, what it is to be masculine, what it is to be macho. All those things kind of come in at some level. So I'm glad that you felt that it does because one did want to get into that when one wrote the character of the man. Also, to some extent, I think Harsha is a bit like, to my mind, is a bit like Emperor Ashoka. He himself kind of led the war, the siege, and killed a lot of people. And then he's looking at the bloodshed, and he's, that's kind of transformed him in some sense. So I found that character was very interesting to talk about, because I'm also curious to see how many people forgive him and how many people really hold a grudge. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see.
And even the female character as well, I found very fascinating because, um, again, it addresses very several other taboo subjects as well in the process of it, and it addresses like archaic norms and a lot of topics like that as well. So was that also subconsciously something you decided to do, or did it just happen gradually as you wrote the film and that made the film? What was your sort of objective behind including those tracks, especially with the female character in the film?
Uh, I mean, first, it was really important for me that she's a Bohri Muslim for many reasons. One of them is that I think, uh, see, the film was already dealing with how a man and woman have to help each other, and how both genders have to help each other. To kind of bear life for 80 years, you have to really not just help each other, but really love each other. You need to kind of get to
Mm,
that point. Both
yeah,
genders need to get to that point. Love and respect. But also, I thought it was interesting that Bohri Muslim woman is helping this Hindu man, and Hindu man is helping this Bohri Muslim woman. Ashwin
mm,
Mathur is pretty as near to a name as you can get. So that's where I came from. Also, I think it was just and the Bohri Muslim community is very very close knit. They don't really again not a very mixing community necessarily with other communities as much.
yeah,
Uh, so also that someone told me that this is very difficult to verify 100%, but it seems like it's quite true. This is the first film in Indian cinema to have a Bohri Muslim protagonist, which is
yeah.
tragic. Uh,
It was
it's
quite
quite sad.
nice. And it was quite nice as well because actually I'm a Gujarati myself, so I think hearing her speak in Gujarati as well, it kind of gave a bit more of a personal connection as well. So it was interesting to see that as well. And I think the way the conversations happened when she was on the train as well, I thought that was very interesting. In fact, speaking of that, I wanted to talk a bit more about the decision of the casting as well. I think it was quite nice to see Rucha and Harsh, I think be in the film. So what prompted your decision to cast them in particular? And was there ever anyone else in mind?
We audition. We normally audition close to 100 people for a lead role. That's just how I do it. It's something I find very very important. We had a lot of people, really good actors in the final five, uh, and then we just went with the best audition. I mean, in fact, some of the other people in the final five are closer friends of mine than Nazuka. I didn't really know, but she came in and she through all three levels of the audition, she did a great audition. She just kind of back the role. Same with Harsh. Harsh also came in an audition for the film twice. By the third time at the door, when I opened the door of the office to get him in, he said, "इस बार नहीं लोगे तो मार दूंगा जानते." This is a fed up of auditioning.
Also, the last audition you did with both the
Yes,
characters.
the last level of audition for the last five people who were shortlisted for Alia and last five people shortlisted for Ashwin had to riff off each other in the audition. It goes together, so we get to see what kind of chemistry we have as actors. Yeah, so it was just great audition that got me. I mean, with Rucha, she's a great reactor. I think an actor's EQ is their biggest strength. Their mind necessarily may not be their biggest strength. That's just how the process of acting, to my mind, is. So her EQ is great. If you can, and she's also a really good reactor. If you get, so what I used to do is mostly I used to get her to, I used to direct her
Hmm.
more than Rucha. So then Rucha reacts, which is why you see these moments which are very small moments with Rucha where she suddenly, she thinks that he's maybe jumped off when he initially calls her and she's got tears in eyes. So these things came, you can't direct them really because they're there. They're there because she's reacting to what's going on as a stimulus. Really, it wasn't written in the script that when she thinks he's gone, she sheds a tear. Or something. It just came because they were both in the moment at that point. The one small other thing we did was that we actually found 8 or 9 different terraces across Bombay because I wanted Harsh and Rucha to never be more than 100 meters away from each other because I wanted to keep talking to the actors and keep improvising every time we were shooting. So it's not like we shot Harsh's portion separately and then Rucha's. We shot everything together. So we had two cameras always shooting both the actors in different locations, but the locations were never more than 100 meters away from each other. So if you were at Marine Drive in Bombay, then Harsh Shah was at a building just behind, a building terrace just behind. If you were in Bandra, then he was in a, so we just lit the terraces in such a way that they look similar.
Oh
You can't
wow,
make that out.
that is very
That's how you
interesting.
get that kind of performance.
Yeah, and I felt like again, it almost seemed like the buildings that you had, it was almost like instrumental characters. It's almost like as if like they're so close together, but yet so far apart. Whether it's the whole professional boundaries that the female character had, or whether it's the emotional boundaries that Hirsch's character had. So I really liked that whole distinction that you had in there. I mean, I guess was that a conscious thing as well for you as a director? Aditya, to kind of include?
Can you again, when you're saying conscious thing, what are
So
you
like
talking about exactly?
including like using the buildings almost as an instrumental character
Yeah,
to convey the
the
distinct.
city itself. Yes, the city itself also as you get away from like as they kind of get away from the center and further into the city, the film also slows down. So you can also see that initially there's a lot of stress and a lot of rush in everything. This is how Bombay is. And then as they keep skipping modes of transport, the film actually starts settling down physically. So as they sit down and continue the conversation, film also settles down. That was another thing that we really wanted. Even the edit pace of the film changes as they continue telling the story. As you get deeper and deeper, it's almost like the ocean gets calmer when you go deeper. So you were aware of doing that in the way we shot it and in the way we edited it. I hope so. I think some people have reacted to that and said that. So then I realized that okay, it seems like some people are catching that in terms of the feel of the film.
Hmm.
So the city was meant to be a character always because I feel that any bustling metropolis. The beauty of Not Today I find is that you can set it in London, you can set it in New York, you can set it in Singapore, you can set it in Tokyo. Any city that is burdened by uh, everybody coming there to make their dreams come true will
Hmm.
have a lot of this kind of situation. I think.
Hmm. And Shweta, what did that make you feel as well? I mean, present the way Aditya has kind of set and made Mumbai into like an instrumental character in the film. I mean, I know because you are the producer of the film, so I guess overlooking that and reading that at that point, actually, I think that's the question I'd like to ask you because Aditya did mention a while back about how you were in your room and how you were hooked to the script. So, what were your emotions? What was going through your mind at that point?
I think so again, that's been the way he writes also because his earlier films also, if you've seen Tikli and Lakshmi Bomb, in that also Mumbai is a very strong character in the film. Like properly the city is like a character. So it's very similar here. And I think what I felt that in spite of the city being such a strong character, still the film completely keeps you like held very strongly with just like you get like the city gets lost actually because between them and their communication and their exchange that you're having, you get so involved in that as if you're living through their stories that they are saying that you forget where you are. So that is why like I think it's similar to what you said that it actually seems like they are just two buildings apart. They might be that close to each other, but you're totally engrossed in what they are sharing and what they are feeling. So I think that's what held me when I was reading the story.
Yes, and I think that gripping nature definitely does come across, I think, when you watch the film too. What I also observed, Aditya, as well, I saw and realized how you kept the raw sounds of the streets and of the city instead of perhaps using a sentimental background score or a heart-piercing music in the background during the crucial parts of the film or during the most emotional parts of the film. Again, how conscious was your decision of not um, sort of, I guess, incorporating these sort of stereotypical cinematic attributes to that, like especially the background score? So how conscious was your decision in including the natural sounds?
I always wanted to make a film without any background score. I didn't know when I'll make it and which film it would be. I've also been a fan of Ken Loach. He's one of my I'm a fan of Ken Loach's cinema, whether it's Sketch or it's I Daniel Blake, or it is Sorry We Miss You, which came out last year. And there's so many films. So I've always noticed that in his newer films he doesn't have a background score. Like even in I Daniel Blake has no background score. And I kept thinking, wow, man, it's so cool. It's such a courageous thing to do. So I hadn't planned it, but when we saw the edit of the film, and we had set aside some days for background score, and we had contacted some musicians. And one day I was just watching the film at the edit, and I was like, I don't think we need it, and that's it. It was a very, very like a 1 second decision. Uh,
But I think
Not only that, we'd actually shot all the, when they talk to each other, we had shot all the flashbacks.
The backstory.
We had shot all of them. Because in the script, it was that, okay, they're talking, when you cut to the father, talking to the Gori father, talking to his friends, like all those scenarios were actually shot. But when we came to the edit, we realized that we don't need them. Like the actors' performances are so solid. And the story, the writing, I mean, it's strange for me to say that about the writing because I haven't written it. But the story is basically being told are so solid in some sense, emotional, that you don't need any peppering. You don't need any salt and pepper to it. It's working fine on its own. That's how we
Yeah, I think seeing the actor's emote was like felt more to just leave it at that instead of moving away to a backstory or a flashback and coming back.
It felt like it was a disservice to them to move from it.
Yeah, because I feel especially with see, when I say sensitivity, when coming back to my earlier question as well, I feel sometimes what happens is that it's romanticized a bit too much, if you get what I mean. I feel like there's a sense of romanticizing, the whole story, and rather than actually humanizing it and understanding where they're coming from, their emotions. So I guess that must have been something that was also important on your mind as well, right? As a producer and the director of the film, you perhaps were very sure that you didn't want to romanticize anything in that sense, right?
Yeah. And I think in most films till now, like even to your comment earlier, that most films touch this topic, but it's always a sidetrack. It's something that supports the main narrative of the film. It's not actually the main subject. So I think with this film, because this subject is the main subject of the film, I think the sensitivity part is really important because it's not just supporting any narrative, that's the main narrative.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, at a deeper level, I think it ends up becoming about peeling off layers of two human beings. Because after a point, I think, okay, it's not like it goes, but the suicide part kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Because, like in real life, you're not in a conversation, any kind of suicide prevention conversation, if it's going to last for 2-3 hours, it's not like the person is going to have his 1 foot off the ledge for those 3 hours. It keeps ebbing and flowing, where that feeling of wanting to kill yourself keeps coming back and going, because you are also getting distracted and getting engaged in the conversation. So I feel that in fact for a fairly decent part of the film, there is no danger. All that's really hooking you is that the fact that you're getting to know these people more. The danger comes back in again at the end, just before the end, where you feel like, oh my goodness, he might actually do this. So I think that was also really important for us to, in terms of writing and the way we played it out. That was something I was very worried about. That will it still engage people enough? Unfortunately, we've been seeing that it's doing its job.
Yes, definitely. And I think the length as well of the film was very perfect too. And I think it all just adds up very well. And I think it's great that we get to see Rucha because I think she's so talented.
Yeah.
Like I've read up on a bit of her filmography and I've heard the sort of works that she's done before, but I think this really just hits it out of the park. I mean, Harsh Chayasa is a legend. We're all familiar with his work and his craft, but Rucha was incredible, and I think she was fab. So I mean, please do convey that to her whenever you speak with her next. And she was fabulous as well.
Thanks.
But I think on a final note, Shweta and Aditya, this year's festival is themed as Ray of Hope. And I think it's quite apt that it's themed that, especially given the ongoing pandemic and the lockdown situation, and obviously because of the style of concept that you explore in Not Today. I just wanted to kind of on a final note hear it from you. In what way do you think Not Today is a ray of hope or a beacon of change? Once again, we kind of touched on this before, but as a final note, in reference to the theme, I'd like to get your opinion on that.
It's very difficult for us to talk about our own film like that, but I can say that someone who, I think Swastika Mukherjee and Kanishka Chatterjee, both of them who ended up seeing the film,
Right.
they're both really fine actors. They both said that the film becomes, one of them said, I think, that the film becomes like a friend that you can revisit at any point that you're low. It's a very nice thing to say.
Yeah.
So that I think really stuck with me, and I felt that okay, I mean, it's a big thing that anyone can see a work of art like that. So that's all. That's all I can say.
And I think I would just say, I think the film just brings out that one message, just like reach out. Like there is no
Yeah,
harm. Reach out to anyone you want. It's okay. But reach out. Don't hold your emotions. Don't keep it in. Just reach out. I think that's all I would like to add here.
Wonderful. Yes, but I think, like I said, films like Not Today is the need of the hour, and it also reassures that people who are suffering from mental health issues, or who are having thoughts of suicide, they're definitely not alone, and help is always available. So I'm really glad, and thank you so much for giving us such a film. I think it's definitely very important, and on behalf of UK Asian Film Festival, I'd like to thank you as well for joining us. So I believe we've had the world premiere at the festival, so it's incredible to kind of have such a film showcased here. And once again, just wanting to wish you all the very best and congratulations and thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand. Very kind.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon when everything settles and we can come back for the festival.
Definitely,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yes, for sure, definitely, absolutely, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.